Hello. Okay, severe weather season apparently is upon us already. Went from blizzard last week to severe weather potential for a couple of days in a row. So we're going to look at, there's Thursday and then Friday. We're not going to look at Friday yet because kind of what happens on Thursday will determine what happens on Friday. Everything's connected. So I could show you Friday, but it may change. So I don't want to do that to you. So we'll start with Thursday. And here's where we start. This is Thursday, 7 p.m. And notice these storms right here. This is where your potential for severe weather is going to be. And notice it barely clipping southeast Nebraska. So it's Gage County east, basically, is what we're looking at. Now, it's close enough, and I'm going to show you two other models for what they're saying. But let me back up here. Pops up around 6 or 7 p.m. There's 8 p.m., 9 p.m., and then by then they're out. So this is quick. This is really, they're in and out, and then they're gone. So let's look at model number 2. Hang on. This isn't right. So right there. There's 7 p.m., 8 p.m., kind of popping there around 9 p.m., and then boom, they're gone. So that's an 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. time frame. And it's in that same general area, little further north, but a better chance east for these storms. So we'll keep an eye on that. Now, model number 3. I didn't want you to go so fast. So there it starts to pop around 8 p.m., 7 or 8. There's 9 p.m. I'm going to zoom in here a little bit. So this one, apparently is model number 7, has the chance a little further north with its severe weather potential. And any of these would have hail, maybe some damaging wind, maybe an isolated tornado, which we'll talk about here in just a second. And then they kind of scooch on east very quickly. So they're out of our area by about 10 o'clock at night. So they kick up around 7 p.m., are in our hair around 8 or 9, and then they're gone. Okay, so before we get to the specifics of all of this, like and subscribe. Thank you very much. Okay, instability. This is what gets storms going. This is the fuel. This is what you need, at least close to a moderate instability to get storms to fire up. And we do have that. This is right here, 6 p.m. Thursday. So this area right here is the best potential for storms to fire up around 6 p.m., after 6 p.m. Now, once they get going, CAPE is no longer needed. The storms kind of sustain themselves. It helps, but it isn't needed, but it gets it going. This is what gets it going. So the instability after 6 p.m. kind of wanes a little bit, and the storms move out. So that's what that's all about. So there's, first and foremost, the fuel is there for storms to fire. Where are we talking about? Well, the Storm Prediction Center has a slight risk for severe storms very southeastern corner of Lancaster County into Gage, and then the rest of southeast Nebraska into northeastern Kansas, northwest Missouri, and the very southwestern corner of Iowa. Now on the edge here, Omaha, Lincoln, down towards Hebron, in that marginal risk, a level 1. So what does that mean? Well, it means that the threats are all pretty low with this. This isn't like an all-out outbreak, but the chance is there for a couple of different things. Isolated tornado, a possibility from about Beatrice east into Iowa and Missouri and northeastern Kansas. So we could see 1 or maybe 2 isolated weak tornadoes. We're talking EF0, maybe EF1, if it happens, and it's a small chance. And the significant tornado parameter, to just kind of prove the point that the chance for a strong tornado is really small, all of this, and let me kind of zoom it back here, right there, this is all very low. We're talking 0.1, 0.5. Once you start to get over here in 4s, 5s, and 6s, then you're going to see a strong tornado. But there's still a chance, but this is telling me if one happens, it'll be a very weak spin up kind of tornado. So that's the good news. Now the updraft helicity, what is that? It's this. It's a measure of the potential for mid-level rotation, so kind of like halfway up within a storm's updraft. That's the air that moves, the wind that goes straight up within a storm. Is there any rotation? That's what this measures, and it's usually a pretty good indicator of either hail or any kind of spin-up tornado, and that's what that is. So let's take a look at this. This is actually it gets to be relatively high. You're looking at, when you start to see oranges, like right there, that's when there's a chance. Now, this needs to be where the storms are. This isn't where the storms are going to be. This is where the updraft helicity is highest. So you have to keep that in mind, that this isn't where the storms are going to be. This is where this potential is high. And when I was talking about that, those storms are generally around here. So the updraft helicity is relatively low in that area. But if we get a storm or two that happen around here, well, then there's some rotation in there, or the potential anyway. So that's something we're keeping a very close eye on. And that's why that general area I showed you a little bit ago, the tornado threat, is out there, because that's where the storms are expected to be, especially right there. Let me zoom it back right there. This is probably the area that's being monitored the most for that tornado potential, is this area right here. Because that's where the storms are expected to be, and the updraft helicity is relatively high around 10 p.m. if the storms are still there at that time. A lot has to come together. That's why getting a tornado to actually happen is relatively difficult. Large hail, possibility there, again, in that same area where that slight risk is at. So from Beatrice up towards Nebraska City, south and east. And we'll look at the significant hail. Now this, you need to get the reds up here before it's like really large hail. But once you start to see, anything that's in the yellowish or browns, you might see an inch to an inch and a half diameter hail. And sure enough, we start to see the yellows. Now this is down here, so it's still relatively low on the significant hail chart. So when you see whites to yellows, that usually means about quarter size hail, so like 1 inch in diameter. And then it fades away as we head through Thursday night and into early Friday morning. So that's telling me if storms do get going in that area, you might see 1 or 2 storms that have hail the size of quarters, so like an inch in diameter. Damaging wind, possibility. We're looking at that same area that's in that slight risk, that level 2, that yellow shaded area. So 60 mile per hour wind gusts possible in this area. So the main threat assessments here, wind and hail. Those are the two that have the most possibility. And then tornado and flooding, while low, not zero. So there's the chance, you get underneath a thunderstorm that just keeps going over and over and over again, you might get some flooding, some localized flooding. And the tornado threat, again, small, but it's not zero. There is that chance for an isolated tornado. So that's the threat assessment. That's the chance for severe weather as we head through Thursday evening. I hope this isn't a thing of what to come. It seems like this is an early start to severe weather, and we have 2 days in a row. We still have Friday. So I'll do another one of these tomorrow if severe weather isn't popping. But we'll talk more about that later. So for now, it's Wednesday when I'm recording this. The Thursday from about 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. is your threat window. So keep an eye on the storms. And if things do pop up, like and subscribe. That way if I go live, because I'd love to do that. And we'll see if we can get a W in the chat, right? All right. See you guys.